The Canadian civil rights movement to present day, the LGBTQ+ community has persisted in fighting for equality and against discrimination socially, politically, and legally. Queer history and rights are often overlooked and thought of as something that is a concept of the past, even though these events were recent and still ongoing. It is important that we recall the people and groups who fought for our equal rights. Discrimination against the LGBTQ+ community was extremely prominent in the 1900s. Just some of the limitations of queer individuals included the lack of marital rights, invasion of sexual and romantic life, employment discrimination, or people being turned down job opportunities because of their orientation, and inability to join the military. Homosexuality was completely outlawed and was punishable by arrest. Discrimination was prominent despite the laws put in place to disallow it. The queer rights movement in Canada did not begin with immediate action or impact. It started with individuals who risked everything to live openly and be themselves. On August 28, 1971, roughly 100 people had gathered at Parliament Hill with a list of demands for equal rights and protection. This is known as the first major protest for queer rights in Canada, later referred to as the We Demand Rally. Homosexuality was still criminalized at the time, so this movement was a big leap forward. Some examples of these demands were removing gross indecency and buggery from descriptions used against homosexuals in the criminal code and replacing them with words that would be used against both homosexuals and heterosexuals alike, removing similar harsh wording as descriptive words as well as grounds for indictment as dangerous sexual offender, mandating a uniform age of consent for both homosexual and heterosexual acts, granting custody of a child to a parent based on their person and not their sexuality or gender identity, and many others following similar anti-discriminatory rhetoric. Herbert Spears, one of the many authors of these demands, has stated that they were easy to come up with, as they seemed pretty obvious, despite being seen as extremely radical for that time period. Annual pride parades had started to be held in major cities like Toronto and Vancouver, serving as a form of protest and celebration. These protests were especially important during the AIDS crisis, which had a large effect on the community. Some groups, like the AIDS Action Now, demanded that the government take action and respond to the crisis. Since the late 1900s, LGBTQ+ rights have advanced greatly. From the decriminalization of homosexuality in 1969 to conversion therapy being banned in 2020. Over the span of just 51 years, the acceptance and recognition of the queer community has grown exponentially. Just a few more of these milestones include 1982, the inclusion of sexual orientation in the Charter's section on equal rights set foundations for protections against discrimination based on sexuality. 1992, end of discrimination in federal workplaces, prohibiting discrimination in places of work. 2005, legalization of gay marriage, including marriage benefits for spouses in 2003. 2017, the Canadian government formally and officially apologizes for past discrimination and actions against the LGBTQ+ community, including use of the RCMP and military force. The journey towards equality had not been easy, but the LGBTQ plus community in Canada had never stopped moving forward. Through decades of activism and persistence, they've changed laws, overcame harmful ideologies, and built a more inclusive nation.